has come. Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location deep within Gothic Magdeburg in eastern Germany. It's the Unsolved Mysteries Radio Hour with your ever humble host, Freedom Dave.
Hello, friends. This is Freedom Dave, and we are broadcasting live from Magdeburg, Germany. It is now 12 midnight in Gothic Magdeburg, and we have a very interesting show today. You know, I've been thinking about 9/11 recently, and I don't know exactly why. It just sort of came back into my head. But, you know, I've been watching some things on YouTube that have really just brought questions into my head about, you know, what really happened? Who were the real planners of the attack? You know, was it, as the government says, was it Al-Qaeda? Were they attacking us because they hate our freedom, I guess? Or was it something else? Was it something, you know, more sinister, something closer to home? But, you know, I wanted to start out this series of shows on 9/11 by first bringing in a skeptic of conspiracy theories. And I have a really great guest today. His name is Christopher S. Kapper II. And Christopher is a skeptic on conspiracy theories. He doesn't necessarily believe everything the government says and everything the media has told us, but he definitely doesn't think it was something that was planned by George Bush and the Bushes. And Chris, how you doing today? How are you doing this evening?
Pretty good, Dave. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, my pleasure.
I'm doing great.
my pleasure. So Chris, I guess let me just start out. Like, tell me, when 9/11 happened, where were you? You told me an interesting story. You were actually very close to Bush at that exact moment, correct?
Absolutely, yes. I was an IT director for a nonprofit substance abuse clinic in Sarasota, and I was driving to work, and I was stopping by one of our facilities right off of Highway 301, and we got stopped because Bush was crossing over into to going towards the elementary school that he ended up at. So he did that. I waited, and I thought, oh wow, there's our president, pretty cool. Now, as I'm driving closer, I stop to the facility, change out some phone stuff, and then I get back in the car, and I hear on our local radio station here that they're talking about a small plane hit the World Trade Center tower, and I thought, you can't just accidentally hit that tower. Something had to happen there that could not have been an accident. I get into work, and then right before I get there, hear that it was a larger tower. I mean, it was a larger plane than I initially thought. So I told my people to turn the TV on, and right when I sat down the TV, that's when I saw the second plane hit, and just chills went through my spine.
Yes. And what kind of an impact did it have on you personally?
Pretty massive. I mean, my fiance, actually my girlfriend at the time, who became my wife, and she was working for Continental Airlines, so she had to deal with that particular aspect on it, and just seeing those images. I mean, it really brings you to an element. There's an element of fear at that moment that those attacks were on us, and we knew we were under attack. We just, you know, we didn't know when was it going to stop. Was it going to hit us? I mean, there's a lot of fear, a lot of questions, and we were afraid not just for ourselves. We were afraid for the people in those towers. We knew people had died already on the planes and in the towers, and you know, when you've been in a situation like that, or you can imagine a situation like that, and you can really relate to just the loss of humanity that's occurring at those moments.
It's funny that you said that you met your fiance around that time, because you know, not too long after that also I met my future wife. I think a lot of people you know, met their significant others during that time period, don't you think?
Probably so. And I remember probably about a month after that, there was an article that came out in some magazine that my girlfriend had read, and it talked about why she ended up getting married real quick, or why she made a quick decision on a relationship. And it was because we don't know when our life is going to come to an end, and you might as well just get on with your life now. So that we ended up having a quick 8-week engagement, and then it was interesting too, because right after we got married, my grandpa, who was my best man, he died 9 days later. And I was able to get back from our Hawaiian honeymoon, and as I held his hand as he passed from this life into the next. And 9 months to the moment of his second heart attack, to the day, to the moment, my daughter was born.
Oh, wow. No, it's hard to say that was a coincidence, huh?
As a skeptic, I would say that there are a lot of coincidences, and it could be a coincidence. I did pray a lot back then. I was a believing Christian at that time in my life. I'm no longer. But during that time, I thought it was more than a coincidence. But I think today I tend to look at that as it's a beautiful coincidence.
And it's interesting that we're going down the route of coincidences, because 9/11 seems to be full of very strange coincidences, in my opinion. And I don't necessarily believe there are so many coincidences. Now, Chris, you call yourself a 9/11 conspiracy skeptic. Is that correct?
Yes, or debunker of the conspiracy theories. And I would say that I have not really approached this situation in probably a few years. So I might not be up to date on all the latest where the conspiracies have moved to, because conspiracies can be somewhat dynamic and fluid. And I think that is just a result of when conspiracies kind of come to a dead end where, okay, there's a scientific, absolute, immutable position here, then they kind of, like water, flow around that obstruction to something new. Now, some people don't. Some people, no matter what they say or what they have, they won't agree with. And here, there's an interesting quote by Frantz Fanon. He says, sometimes people who hold a core belief that is very strong, when they are presented with evidence that works against that belief, the new evidence cannot be accepted. It would create a feeling that is extremely uncomfortable, called cognitive dissonance. And because it is so important to protect that core belief, they will rationalize, ignore, and even deny anything that doesn't fit with their core belief. And I think that in life, not just with conspiracy theorists, but in life, that is something that many people have. It is the skeptics and the people who look at critical thinking and reason that try to stop that cognitive dissonance and look for, what does the scientific evidence tell us, and what does the most plausible theories tell us.
And from what you've seen from I don't know, I mean, it's all over YouTube, and you Google 9/11, and the conspiracies are the first things that pop up. From what you've seen, don't some of these conspiracies seem to be based in fact? Excuse me, I got a phone call here. The show's getting a lot of traction. Apparently, we're getting phone calls all over the place.
Yeah, that's great. That's another. It's probably George Bush calling to mess up your broadcast.
I know he doesn't want this getting out. He doesn't want this getting out. Of course, always a very professional show on the unsolved mysteries. But Chris, I was saying that don't some of these theories seem to hold some water?
Okay, well, let's look at the conspiracy theory that holds the most water with me. The conspiracy theory that you have Muslim fascists that believe that there is a God that wants them to kill infidels. And by killing infidels, that they will be introduced to their heaven. By dying in the process, they will be introduced to their heaven and have 72 virgins in the land of milk and honey. That a few of these guys, a little less than 24 of them, were able to get on a plane, take over the plane with very gruesome and graphic means, which is very understandable. They took a knife, cut a guy's neck, show that they just murdered somebody and they're willing to murder more. Immediately calmed the plane. Well, didn't calm them down, but got them to be submissive. Took over the plane, and then they crashed it in there in an attack on our economic, our freedoms and just attack on our country, and in a very, very visual attack where all the news agencies were focused on the tower, hit the second one, hit the Pentagon, and there's a fourth plane, obviously, that did not make it to its destination. So ultimately, that is a conspiracy that I believe, because they conspired against us and they successfully completed their mission.
Yes, but and just for the audience out there, I just want you guys to know that I did not invite Chris on the show to attack his beliefs, because I'm not a conspiracy expert. I do lean more towards the conspiracy side because, in my opinion, what I've seen, it seems like there's some kind of inside job going on. But that's not why I had Chris on the show. I'm going to be presenting some things that I'd like Chris to, give me his opinions on. But Chris, let me ask you, because it was very visual what they presented. They attacked our financial by, I think that the visualization of the towers being attacked is attacking America's financial stability. The plane going into the Pentagon is attacking our military. The plane trying to go into Washington, D.C. is attacking our politics or our people, correct? And
absolutely.
And why did they not take it a step further? I believe the country at that time was ripe for chaos. If they would have injected some people in and have a Dubai-like attack or Mumbai-like attack where they send people to the public areas with machine guns to shoot up the malls and movie theaters and things like that, it could have really brought the country to its knees. If their goal was to bring the country to its knees, why didn't they continue with that terror that they could have?
All right, so your assertion is that bringing down multiple buildings in Manhattan and our Pentagon was not enough. They should have also, to solidify the event, to release people in malls and shooting them up. Is that what you're asserting?
Well, I guess if I was an Al-Qaeda captain, I would have suggested that to Osama bin Laden, yes.
Okay. Well, I think that it's a point that would have it certainly would have increased the chaos in America. However, when you look at the totality of their efforts and their goal was to take out the White House. Had they succeeded in the White House, and they succeeded in the Pentagon, and they succeeded with both World Trade Center towers and the collateral damages of the surrounding areas, the collateral damages of our skies being shut down for 2 weeks, the collateral damages of absolute fear of Americans of what is going on, who did this, the shutting down of our economic infrastructure for a small time, although we weren't able to bring it up. I think that's pretty bad, and they were really, really effective. If you were to add a few more people shooting people in malls, that has happened since. There have been people that have shot people in malls, and at least one of those guys, from what I understand, had a Muslim background. I don't know that they were connected in any way. I'm not trying to introduce a new conspiracy here, but these. What if they had a nuclear bombing? Where is the level? Where do you stop the level? Because no matter what you said, so maybe they did what you said, Dave, and they had 3 malls that were shot up. Well, then why not 5? I mean, you can always add more. But the reality is, this is what they did. They're highly successful. Unfortunately, I just want to be clear, unfortunately, they were very successful at what they did, and they did bring our country down to our knees for a very short moment. And we coalesced as an American people, and as Toby Keith said, we stuck a boot in their ass is the American way.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a very solid, valid point that you're bringing up there.
Thank you.
Now, what is your opinion on certain things like? Well, I guess let's stay with the Al-Qaeda route.
Okay.
Now, what is the deal with Osama bin Laden and the bin Laden family being so closely tied to the Bushes?
Excellent question, and I think that you have the Bushes are in oil, the bin Ladens are Saudis, and Saudis known for their oil. And I know that on a previous show that you discussed how, and rightfully so, why did the bin Laden family get flown out? And I think it's common knowledge. Or it may not be common knowledge, but it's common knowledge amongst people in the conspiracy movement and also people that are knowledgeable about what happened during that time. The bin Laden family got flown out. I think it was within 48 hours of the incident. Planes were shut down, but yet they got flown out. The bin Laden family is rich. I think the rich do protect the rich. And there is some things going on. It certainly wouldn't look good if the bin Laden family was here and there's mass mobs of Americans attacking them. So I can understand from a security point why. But I also think that there may be more to it than that. But I don't think that that you have the brother bin Laden, Osama bin Laden, out there. He's living in caves. He's not in active communication, to my knowledge, and I don't think that's asserted. If it is, please correct me. I don't think it's asserted that he, from his Afghanistan caves or apartment or wherever he was living at that time, I don't think he was communicating with his brothers and sisters and cousins and nephews and nieces in America about what was going on. So the question then is, was there collusion amongst all bin Ladens, or, hey, you know what, we think that this Osama bin Laden character might have done this because we already knew that he was a problem. We knew that he just had murdered a guy over there in North Afghanistan who is the leader of the Afghanistan Freedom Rebels. Mm-hmm. And so we knew that happened right before this. So I understand why our government flew them out of there, but there might have been more to it, but I don't know. But I don't know how that connects and what that matters.
You don't think it matters that, this man that they portrayed as, the great attacker, when they put him, his comments on TV on all news stations, that, flying his family out, the great Satan, this guy who attacked America, they took special precautions with his family. Why not hold them for questioning? It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, do you have any opinions on that particular aspect of it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's. Listen, I mean, I have people in my family that I have never spoken to. I have people in my family that I have very rarely spoken to. I have close people in my family that I haven't been around very often. My father left when I was very young, and he went and had two families after establishing my family. Osama bin Laden has many cousins, nieces, nephews, brothers, and sisters that are not actively in connection with him. So we have to be very careful about saying that there is a conclusive relationship between these individuals, and because that's very that could be a problem. Why did they go ahead?
Oh, I was going to say I was going to play a quick clip for you of Cheney, of Dick Cheney, saying that Osama, they don't have proof that he was involved, and I just wanted to see what you said about that. But do you want to finish with what your train of thought?
No, please continue with the clip.
Oh, okay. And just, tell me if you have an opinion about this or not.
Thank you.
We've never made the case or argued the case that somehow Osama bin Laden was directly involved in 9/11. That evidence has never been forthcoming.
I want to be clear, because I've heard you say this, and I've heard the president say it, but I want you to say it for my listeners, which is that the White House has never argued that Saddam was directly involved in September 11th, correct?
That's correct. We had one report early on from another intelligence service that suggested that the lead hijacker, Mohammed Atta, had met with Iraqi intelligence officials in Prague, Czechoslovakia. And that reporting waxed and waned with a degree of confidence in it and so forth has been pretty well knocked down now at this stage. But so we've never made the case or argued the case that somehow Osama bin Laden was directly involved in 9/11. That evidence has never been forthcoming. But that's a separate proposition from the question of whether or not there was some kind of a relationship between the Iraqi